Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Well, hello, MotoAmerica fans, and welcome back to another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I'm Paul Carruthers, the communications manager for MotoAmerica, and Sean Bice is my sidekick. He's usually in Ohio, but I think he's on the road. But just came back from a difficult weekend in Brainerd.
Yes.
The racing was good. Obviously, you know, we had some horrible things happen. One in particular that, it's I know it's part of motorcycle racing, Sean, but it's a tough deal, man. And it makes for a very, very difficult weekend for everybody that's involved in our paddock. And it's just incredibly sad. And I don't even know what to say about it. It's just, you know, it just happens every once in a while. And anyway, I don't even know what to say about it. You might have more to say, but it's, I feel for the family and the friends, and you know it's always hardest on those left behind.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I know that we all realize the risks and understand it's part of the sport. I get that, and we all understand that. But you know, you kind of put it out of your mind when you're at a race weekend. And we've had some injuries over the years, but we haven't had a fatality since that first year at since Laguna Seca there. And that was what a situation to have for your first year with MotoAmerica, Paul. I wasn't with MotoAmerica then, you were, and I distinctly remember being in the media center then when you were dealing with that. And of course, it was some of that again. And it's just a tough situation. You see, you know, we had some crashes at that track, and you know, a lot of them people were okay. There were some that were some injuries, and unfortunately, Scott Briotti lost his life. And you know, I had mentioned in my story this week, I did have a chance to meet him, and it was really mostly because of where he's from and his background. And I'm glad I did, because I got to kind of share in what a lot of people say about him. But one of the things I really, and I'm sure you noticed this, Paul, in our press conferences, every press conference we had, there was at least one rider in that group, if not all of them, that said something about, you know, remembering Scott, and even some of them that may not have known him, but certainly riders that did know him. And the guests that we're going to have on today knew him intimately. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit, but it's a tough situation. But, you know, at the same time, I mean, it's interesting that his service, you know, his son wants to have everybody bring their numbers and slap them on the side of the casket, you know, and it just shows that the spirit of racing, you know, what it means to everybody in the paddock. And it's certainly not easy to deal with, but you know, we go on. It felt weird the next day. I mean, we were sort of towards the end of the day when it happened. So the next day was, you know, another day, and we kind of picked up from where we were, and that's what you do in this sport. But we certainly thought about it the whole time, and are still thinking about it. So, you know, thoughts go out to that family, and for sure, and everybody that knows him and knew him. So, including our guest.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You know, I've been in a motorcycle racing paddock since I was born.
Yep.
And it never gets any easier. It's never any different. It's just, you know, it's horribly sad, but you know, motorcycle racing paddocks are always a resilient bunch of people.
Yep.
And we bounce back quickly, because I think we know that's what the person who has passed would want, and it's what they would also do if they were in the same situation. So I think if you look at it that way, then motorcycle racing is probably the best cure for what ails you when it comes to something like this. But anyway, we'll move on and speak to our guest. With this guy it's funny how I forget how young he is, and I forget how much success he's actually had. But Rocco Landers, with his two rather dominating victories in Supersport this past weekend at Brainerd, which incidentally were his first and second wins in the class, he's now won 40 MotoAmerica races. He won the two in Supersport. He's won 9 in Twins Cup, and he won an amazing 29 in Junior Cup. He's a two-time Junior Cup champion. He's the 2020 Twins Cup champion. He switched to Supersport in 2021. Found out that things weren't very easy for him as they had been before. Not that they were easy, but success came easier to him in those classes. And here he is now a winner in that as well. So, you know, we knew that those wins would come sooner or later. I think he was surprised, as we were, that maybe didn't come in his first year or didn't come a little quicker in his second year. But, you know, he's 17 years old, for God's sakes. It's like, you know, you sometimes expect too much of somebody who's already given a lot, and he's going to give a hell of a lot more. But let's bring Rocco Landers into the conversation. Rocco, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
So when you sit there and you listen to somebody rattle off all the crap that you've done, you've got to be a proud little kid over there in Missouri.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I mean, I have a very solid base. So when I came to Junior Cup, it was a bit different because I came from Europe, and I've been racing longer than most adults have, even in MotoAmerica. So it also came down to experience. But yeah, when I was in the obviously more stacked class with in Supersport last year, I think I got like 4 or 5 podiums, and I had a lot of fun. I improved a lot, and sometimes we were scratching our heads because either I was having issues, or I couldn't get the bike to work, or we would have a small issues with the team, and it was just like this again. And this year, obviously it's been a bit different. I think I have I don't know how many podiums I have this year. I think it's like 7 or 8 already, and we're halfway done. And I was able to win 2 races, which is awesome. But I mean, yeah.
Now,
You know,
I think, sorry, Sean, I know this had to have bothered you, and you better tell me the truth. When Sam Lockoff won a couple of races last year, and then Tyler Scott wins a race this year, that had to have been a little bit difficult for you, and also very motivating.
Well, I think Sam won. He won the race 2 at Jersey, and then Ty won race 1 at Road America this year. But I mean, there's other circumstances that you can take in, but it was annoying because, I mean, with Sam, he and I had so many battles in Junior Cup, and he and I get along really well. But we had so many battles in Junior Cup, and I'm like, this guy's leading me in the championship. He's beating me in all these races. He got more podiums than I do, and now he's just won a race, and I'm scratching my head as to what I'm doing wrong. And yeah, it was just, we've had a lot of like super small issues that combined into just a giant struggle bus last year with just a lot of things.
You know, Rocco, Paul talked about this, and I want to kind of talk about it a little bit more. So you've had 40 wins in our MotoAmerica series, and you are third among active MotoAmerica riders on the all-time AMA list, and only 2 riders above you are Jake Gagne with 44 wins and Josh Herron with 43, and this is in all classes. But if you look at it, those guys raced in both, you know, in AMA and MotoAmerica. So you have the most wins of any rider in the MotoAmerica era with 40. The other part of it too is all-time active or inactive riders. You are actually 12th on the list. You're tied. You're tied with a guy named Scott Russell, who I'm sure you've heard of. I think I've
never heard of him.
Yeah, I met him once when I was like 6 at Laguna.
So I mean, that's a heady group to be in. But you know, when you think about what you've done so far, and you're only 17 years old, and you've won 3 championships already, do you think about that and what you've won and kind of grasp that, or are you looking forward to your next win so much that you don't really dwell on those wins, or do you sit back and go, wow, that's been quite a career so far?
I mean, the wins are great, but if you sit and be complacent, it's you're never going to win again. So I mean, you win. I enjoyed Sunday, and I enjoyed Monday, but I'm back on track training and working within a day or two of the race weekends.
Well, the other thing I want to mention is, okay, Ridge, at the
Yes.
Ridge, you got the pole.
Yep.
And you were pretty excited. I came and saw you. I went in the trailer and saw you.
Yeah.
And then, boy, ever since then, you got it going on now. And
Yeah.
I know there's some things in your program, but that was amidst a time where there was some, I had done a story about this whole situation with the 600. And, I know Josh Hayes was giving you a hard time about the fact that, he won a race earlier in the season, but you guys have figured out some stuff. And I think I know some answers to that, but I don't want to say, what have you figured out in recent rounds and races?
Yeah, a lot of things. I mean, it's funny because Ridge, I had been second in one race. I'd had a bunch of podiums. I had been second in practice and second in qualifying, and qualified second on the grid. Been second qualifying one, had provisional second spot. I've been second a lot. And that was actually my first time ever leading a session in Supersport. And it happened to be pole positioned by, I think, half a tenth. And there were several times where I was really close. Like I think at Brainerd last year, I was within a tenth of Sean. And at Atlanta, I ended up getting held up in qualifying and lost pole position by another tenth. So it was like really, really, really like, it was like finally we just led a session. Like that was the first time I've done that. It was pole, which was even cooler. And I think I turned into a second, then I got the whole shot and ran off and raced 2 and ended up like 4th. But yeah, we fixed a lot of things. I mean, I don't really want to like get into like
I
the
understand
politics of it.
Sure.
I don't necessarily agree with the rules, but
Right.
there are tracks that are decent for the R6, namely Brainerd. Laguna's not bad in certain spots. VIR, where you can use the handling and basically use the fact that the R6 generally you can use a lot more roll speed and kind of lay your cojones out there and send it. But I mean, the majority of the tracks are just not that way. But VIR, I mean, or Ridge was it's a track where you can use the strength of the R6, especially in the first and second sectors. And I was able to get pole there, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've heard from a little birdie that like there's some other things, I think you've had to deal with some things as far as your riding goes as well. Like this little birdie told me that like, which seems rather opposite than most motorcycle road racers, is that you don't have an issue with the front, pushing the front or what have you. You have more of an issue with the rear, and that's, I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if that's a byproduct of growing up on little mini road racers rather than dirt track bikes, or how that works. But maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually like, even with, I don't know if it's the way my bike's set up or just the way I ride or the amount of training I've done, but I don't really have issues with the front end. My issues are mainly the rear end. We made a lot of changes just to give the bike more grip and make it easier on tires. So that has been like, we had a huge breakthrough at Laguna where basically Josh since a while, he's been trying to get me to just do a couple small things different. And I was being a stubborn little bleep head. And I mean, he finally got me to try it. We ended up leading race 2 and got 3rd, I think, after battling for 2nd. And that was basically a huge breakthrough, and it helped us so much at Brainerd. Like, if you watch my first laps and the consistency I was able to run, I credit that very, very, very much to Josh Hayes, who's helped me so much. And I mean, he's done even more than that, but like I was able to combine the coaching I've gotten from him and the coaching I've got from the California Superbike School to basically make it to where I was just like the bike and the way I felt around Brainerd was almost a dream. It was amazing.
All right. Well, now, thanks to those 2 wins, you've sort of established yourself as the biggest challenge to Josh Herrin. Now, he's 76 points ahead, but you're 28 points ahead of Tyler Scott. 76 points is doable, but maybe not against somebody with the experience of Josh Herron. I don't think he's going to make too many mistakes.
I know. I mean, if you think about it, like I think his worst finish this year is 4th.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously has a ton of experience and he's working really well with the Ducati team and everything's been working really good for him. Obviously, it's mathematically possible, but it would take some gnarly stuff happening to put me in the championship hunt, but I'm focused forward. I'm not looking back right now.
Now, looking forward, are there tracks that you think coming up will suit you, or, I mean, does the schedule work in your favor at this point?
There's spots on Pittsburgh and there's spots on Jersey and there's spots on Barber that I think favor all different bikes. So they're better tracks than say Road America is or Atlanta is for the bike. But I feel I feel really confident going in that I can at least keep them honest.
Yeah, it was funny. It was a weird weekend for Josh at Brainerd because I mean, this practice sessions and the qualifying, I mean, he had a tough time, but there he was, in the race and on the podium both times. Did you expect that? Did you think, okay, no, he's struggling. I don't even know if I'm going to see him on the track. And there he was when the racing started. Did you say it was that like, of course he's going to be there. It almost doesn't matter where he qualifies.
Yeah, there's a few guys who no matter how they do in practice, they'll always be there in qualifying. Josh Herron. I don't care. I don't look at his he's a blank slate for me until the race. Like him, Sam Lockoff's very much like that. Caleb DeCarroll was, when I was racing him in Twins Cup, he'd be 12th in qualifying, and then I couldn't even hang on with him in the race. And then Tyler does that as well. Where like they're like, for me, a lot of guys are blank slates. They're all racers. They're not qualifiers.
Well, that's the thing about Josh. Josh has always said that he doesn't like to test. He doesn't really like to qualify. He almost doesn't like to practice, but it's all about with him going, racing is what he gets that going and he just gets up there and makes it happen. But for you to get 2 wins against that was, and also against your mentor, Josh Hayes was pretty incredible stuff. I want to talk a little bit about Josh Hayes because it's funny. I've said this before about him. I know him very well. I mean, I worked with him in the past, and he's obviously an amazing racer, but he's actually somebody that can articulate what he's not necessarily what he's doing, but what other riders are doing. And that's a pretty rare gift to have. Some riders can't explain what they do or even tell somebody else how to do it. But
I know.
And he works with a lot of aspects of you, not just your racecraft and things, but other things with you. What is it about Josh? I mean,
I met Josh. I think I met him at it was funny. I met him at Sonoma at MotoAmerica in 2011 or AMA in 2011 when he won like the Superbike race there. It was
wow.
Kind of funny. He was a guy I watched on TV from when I was born, basically.
Right.
And I personally met him in 2019 at Atlanta, and I rode down at his house. We never really worked together until it was just after Daytona. Like I was like Daytona was a train wreck for me. We ended up looking back, and my bike, we found out, was bent 3/4 of an inch to the left at Daytona. So I didn't have the greatest setup there, and we were chasing our tail there. But afterward, we talked to Josh. We actually did a day at Auto Club, just a one-off day, and it was funny because I rode his, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with my bike. It just feels weird. And I rode his bike for a couple sessions, and I was like, this thing's amazing. And he rode my bike that I raced at Daytona. He's like, there's something wrong with that. So we ended up finding that gremlin, which really was no one's fault. It was I threw the bike down the road last year, and we didn't my dad rebuilt it, and it wasn't a huge crash, so we didn't really assume that we would have to even check it. But somehow the thing had completely tweaked itself, and we were able to sort that out. And I went back out on my spare bike, and I was able to finally go as fast as how Josh, or do what Josh was basically telling me I do, or what I could do. And I was it was incredible. And we went out to Chuckwalla a couple weekends later. I think I won. It was like a career weekend almost. I won all my races, had a ton of fun, and then we were just like, all right, let's go to Atlanta. Let's do some pro racing and see how it goes. And I think I was third in the championship coming out of Atlanta, I think. And we were just like going from round to round. No promises about making to the next one. And things just kept going better and better and better. And Josh he's perfect for me because he doesn't take my crap. He's almost become like a second racetrack dad to like help me with all aspects of how things are going at the track. And I mean, he's like one of my heroes because he's been there since he raced against my dad when my dad was racing in the 90s. So he's like this insane wealth of knowledge, experience, and you said it. He's one of the few that can turn his experiences of racing and how things are into coaching, where because there's a lot of guys that can't. Like they'll be great racers, but they don't know two bits about coaching because they can't pick things out. They just don't know how they're doing it.
That's
and
right.
Then there's some guys who are not good racers or aren't even racers at all, but are great coaches because they can spot things. But like Josh is like a rare specimen where he's one of the best coaches. Like him and like he's probably the best race coach I've ever spoken to. Not probably, I think he is. And I was able to combine his experience and his knowledge with all of the help that I've received from in technique from the California Superbike School, who I've been working with Keith Code since I was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the most important guys in my racing. And I was able to combine all of the genius technique that the Superbike School teaches with the racing, racing and the mentality and the just the way I ride the 600 that Josh has helped me with, and it's basically just been getting better and better and better. And I've been getting closer and closer and closer to the lead, and then finally was able to win the races at Brainerd.
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention, Paul, I just want to mention this real quick, is the fact that when I said that Rocco is third among active MotoAmerica rides and all-time wins. Well, if you actually, I had taken Josh Hayes out of this list because he wasn't a regular rider, but I guess we should probably put him back in and with his
probably should.
Yeah, with his 84 wins that are only 2 away from Miguel, and
that's something.
Just real quick, I want to talk about that. Obviously, he's chasing that a little bit. That's one of his primary motives for doing what he's doing. But I found another motive that he has, and I know you know about this, Rocco. He talks. I cannot believe the dude is in a race, racing for a win, and at the same time, he's watching what you're doing, and he's kind of figuring out, hey, I'm close up to seeing Rocco. I can give him some pointers because I
know it's unbelievable.
What is that? Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy. Like I remember after VIR, after he won race 1, he comes up to me after the race and he's like, all right, meet me in your rig in an hour, and just sits with me and picks out everything I need to work on for race 2. And I mean, we battled for 2 laps and he pulled straight away from me. But at Brainerd, like it's insane. Like I have so much debt that I have to that guy.
Yeah.
Is it harder when he's in a race with you? I mean, I don't know, I think it'd be a little more difficult sometimes to think, oh my God, my coach is behind me watching exactly what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. But is that do you feel like it's a little more difficult when he's in the race that you're in?
No, I love racing with Josh. He's probably my favorite guy to race with. He's aggressive and smooth, and he's so clean. He is my favorite guy in the world to race with. Him and Kevin Olmedo.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Awesome. Yeah.
But I think you'll notice if you look at what he did to that other kid that he coaches in Supersport.
He would do that. He would do that straight to me. 100%.
Well, I know, but I think that's part of the beauty of the whole relationship.
And Corey would do that to me, and I would do that to Corey.
Right.
And that's not going to change the fact that I'm going to go to Josh's and train with him and Corey for a week, and we're just going to have a ton of fun.
Right. Now, speaking of the training, you came in as this skinny 14-year-old. And
I was 4'11", like 92 pounds.
right.
Incredible.
So
Wow.
then you had a great growth spurt and you realized, I'm kind of a fat kid and I need to do something about it. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that came with a little prodding from Josh Hayes as well as to what to go out and do. But it
Yep.
seems like whatever it is, you've started to do it because for the first time in your life, I mean, I think you're taking training seriously and you'd never had to do that before.
Yeah, no, it's been a process because I went from having like a kid's metabolism where you eat whatever you want, you don't really gain weight. And like I said, I mean, I'm 5'11" now. I've grown a foot since I started racing MotoAmerica, and I've gained a lot of weight. But I mean, it's been a process because once I stopped growing and I quit being able to eat whatever I want, I didn't really accept that, and things kept going in a bad direction. But things have just been going better and better and better. And like you said, it took me finally accepting that I really need to get my mind on the right track. But things have been going incredibly well, and I've found some things that work for me that a lot of people might call gnarly, but it really works for me. It's the only way I've found that really works. And I mean, I've been feeling physically better, and I'd say I have some of the best fitness and physical fitness in the Supersport class. Now it's just a matter of getting the rest of the weight off so I can be at my peak physical performance.
Well, I'll never forget. It was 1 year at Barber. I think maybe your first Junior Cup championship or your second
Okay.
Junior Cup championship. But I think I saw you set a Guinness Book of World Records for eating the most most Reese's peanut butter
I
cups.
knew you were going
dude.
there, Paul.
Oh, dude. I probably did. Some fan. See, Reese's aren't, dude. Reese. Oh my God. Sponsor me, Reese's, please. It's the best thing in the world. Except for winning Supersport races, that's the best. But then second
They
best.
probably don't go hand in hand.
I know, that's the problem. That's why like you gotta take the best thing. The best is winning Supersport races. But yeah, no, some fan like it was funny because after I won at New Jersey, I think I can't remember who's doing. I think it was Hannah, but she goes, "Oh, what are you gonna do to celebrate your championship?" And I was like, "I'm gonna eat some Reese's."
Yeah.
And I think I don't remember. I can't remember her name, but every year since then she's come with this bulk bag of Reese's, and I'm like, "You're killing me, but I love you." No, it's funny, I've found ways to enjoy Reese's while not going crazy, and
That's
to enjoy other things as well, but specifically Reese's.
You just got to eat them while running.
Exactly. No, sometimes I actually do that.
So Rocco, let me ask you this question. This is tricky. So we'll leave your two sisters out of this. Your mom, your dad, you. Who wants it the most among
Me.
you? Okay, you do. Okay.
Yeah.
And your dad, I mean, I see the drive and passion that your mom and dad have for it. And I know your dad, my gosh, they do anything for you, Rocco. I know that. I mean, the stuff that I know your dad does as crew chief and what he's trying to do. It's not for him, it's for you, obviously.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I didn't want to race, my dad wouldn't be at the track.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
if I didn't, whenever I was like 1 or younger, like 6 months old, he would turn AMA Superbike or Supercross on, and the only thing that would get me to sit still was if that was on TV, even when I was like 4 or 5, 6 months old. And I mean, it's just I've always liked it. It's always been one of my favorite things. Like, it's always my favorite thing. I love it. If I wasn't able to race professionally, I'd still be at the track. I'd still be doing track days.
I want to ask you something physiologically with you that I recall in the past, and it's when you were on the start line sometimes, and we would notice this situation. And I don't know specifically, you would probably know if you've been diagnosed with this, but you have some kind of performance asthma or asthma.
Yes.
Okay. And you used to use an inhaler. I don't
do.
see you doing that anymore. Do you still do it?
We've gotten it more under control. Last year was unbelievably terrible. Like I would come off the bike and just have to go straight to the rig and not be able to breathe. But a
Mhm.
lot of things have changed. Like I have a new regiment that I'm on to keep it to where I don't have to just hit it 10 times every hour.
Mhm.
But like I have technically if you classified, I have severe asthma
Okay.
where if I don't have the inhaler, I'm kind of screwed. But like it's gotten so much better from how it was, especially last year. I don't usually I don't need to use it much anymore.
Do people grow out of that?
Some
Is it
people
something
do.
you do? Okay. And is it just straight up asthma with you, or is it performance
Yes.
asthma with you? Okay, it is. So it's not
Yeah,
just when
and
you
see,
exert.
there's different types of asthma. Like there's asthma. Some people grow out of it. Yeah, like generally, if you have it past 15, you're gonna have it forever. But for like I know other racers who have it. I know athletes who have it. It's sort of like diabetes, where it's just something you can pretty easily work around as long as you have the stuff. But see, there's different types. Like there's asthma that's brought on by physical exercise. There's asthma that's brought on by cold weather, hot weather, allergies, dust, a lot of things, and I happen to have every single one of them. So it's not a huge deal, though. It's like I'm happy that it's one of those things that's much easier to work around than. I mean, yeah, like I would much rather have this than have a lot of other things.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I've got to ask you something about your goals. Now,
Yes.
back when we first got to know you, Junior Cup days, etc. I mean, you qualified for Rookies Cup. It kind of turned into a bit of a mess with COVID and trying to get over there and travel and this and that. I also think when you rode the bike, you quickly figured out by then that these bikes might be a bit small for you.
Yeah.
Now, have your goals changed? I know at that point in time you wanted to be, MotoGP world champion. You wanted to race Moto 2. You wanted to do this. You want to do that. Have your goals, have you changed those goals at all? I mean, have you thought about like, okay, my correct path should be to become MotoAmerica Superbike champion and then go to the World Superbike Championship? Where do you sit with that now?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'll tell you what, I'm focused on winning Supersport races. That's all I'm focused on right now. But I'm focused on Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, when I tried out for Rookies Cup, like I said, when I started MotoAmerica, I was 4'11", 90 pounds. When I tried out for Rookies Cup at the end of that year, I think I was 5'4" and like 120 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to Rookies Cup, I was 5'9" and 140 pounds.
Wow.
So a lot of things changed, and it got to the point like I was a full, I think 4 or 5 inches taller than the second tallest Rookies Cup guy, or 3 or 4 inches, and I was like 4 or 5 kilos heavier. Like I was racing against guys like Alonso and Pedro Acosta, who are, David Alonso. I think whenever I've raced with David Alonso since I was like 12 years old, because I raced with him in Moto 4 in Europe. But I mean, I was racing against him when I was like 5'9", 135, 140 pounds. And I'm going against a guy who's 4'8", 4'9", and 86 pounds. And that was part of the thing. But the Rookies Cup, it was like you said it the best. It was just a train wreck from COVID. Like I couldn't even get over for some of the rounds because the policies were so strict. So, I mean, yeah.
So Rocco, do you think you've stopped growing?
Yes. Probably not
Okay.
gonna get. If I get tall, I'll be like 1 inch.
Okay, so you might end up 6 foot, but right now 5'11", 6 foot. I know you only want to think about Supersport in Pittsburgh, but I want to project a little bit. You are probably a perfect size for a leader bike. So stop with that super bike. It's going to come pretty soon. Do you think it would be something next year or year after? I mean, where are you projecting to be there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've found a setup that I really like on the R6 right now, but really, honestly, my only goal right now is to win more Supersport races this year, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to race next year.
You know, there's a guy that works with you, and I've talked to him a fair amount just because I've known him for a long time, and it's Tom Halverson. I mean, the guy's
Yes.
been involved in road racing forever and ever. And I talked to him about you, and that guy, I'm sure you know this, but that guy thinks the world of you. And
He's awesome.
yeah, and he thinks you have huge potential and huge talent, and you know, he's good with seeing talent. He's seen a lot of riders over the years and understood that talent. So I know that you have a connection with Yamaha, and you know, aside from, you know, the 600s versus the next generation or whatever, you do have you've developed a loyalty to Yamaha. And I mean, it seems like they tend to have situations, and I'm not saying they're unusual in this regard, but there's a bit of a ladder there that you could, you know, stay with that program. I mean, we saw, well, Josh Herron for the longest time, but certainly Garrett Gerlach. I mean, Cameron Bobier, they all kind of moved up through. JD Beach, I mean, he's still riding a Yamaha and AFT. So you're kind of in that, you're not kind of, you are in that family now. So I would think that there's some things down the road that would kind of keep you within that group, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean that's ideal for me. I love working with them. Tom and I, we get along personally really well. Like I'll always go talk to him every day at the racetrack. It was funny at Laguna. He comes up to me. He's like, "I wish you knew you could win one of these things as much as I do." And I was like, dude, I gotta win one of these things. Come on, this is at Laguna after race 2. And yeah, he's so cool. He's like I mean, there's not much else to say. He's like just one of those just awesome dudes that you meet once in a million. Where he and I just clicked the moment we met.
Yeah, he's a good guy like that for
Yeah,
sure.
he is.
What I want to talk about your persona in the paddock. Let me see how to put this. You're probably the friendliest guy in the paddock, and I'd like to try to be that way, and I aspire to do that, but I don't get around the paddock as much as you do. And it seems like basically every rider you have a relationship with. Is that just you have just that much love for the sport? Do you like to cheer other people on? Is that just part of what your personality is?
Yeah, I'm just a homeschool weirdo. No, but yeah, it's funny. My dad always gets mad because I'm annexing the team Zuma, and he's always like, "We need the Zuma," and I'm just riding around seeing people. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like talking to people. It's fun. What else am I gonna do? Just sit in the trailer?
Well, you just touched on something that's interesting, and I've seen this. You know, my wife's a teacher, so I see this a lot. And we, you know, even when my son was younger, he went to regular school. But when you're homeschooled, there isn't really a social aspect, and a
Yeah.
lot of homeschooled kids, you know, their parents try to get them involved in activities and doing things. And is that part of it a little bit, that you know, because you're home and you're doing you know, you're not sitting in a classroom, that, you know, when you go to the track, you kind of get to be out with a bunch of people, and that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I love homeschool because number one, you get a billion times better education than you'd get in public school.
Yeah.
You're doing less school. I mean, I graduated early, which is sick. I mean, I get to race motorcycles, which is pretty awesome, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's way more bonuses to me personally doing homeschool. I have friends who are homeschooled and like they said they can't do it anymore. But I mean, I've been homeschooled since I was 8 years old. Or 7 years old, actually. I think I was 7 or 8. But I mean, it was kind of a necessity because I started going to Italy to race pocket bikes when I was 8.
Right.
And I can't exactly just be, and that was before all the Zoom and online school. So it was homeschool pretty much or bust. And it ended up working out pretty good. Like you get a much better education that you get in regular school because it's actually prioritizing your education. But I mean, it's amazing. I really, 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 really like homeschool. It's probably what I'm going to do if I have kids one day.
That's cool. I have to tell you something I was surprised about, and we're gonna talk about Scott a little bit here.
Yeah.
Rocco, I want to do that. So when we went to the memorial service, or the memorial in the morning when you did the lap, when I first got there, I actually didn't know I mean, I figured you knew Scott, but I didn't know your relationship with him. I knew based on the guys that have raced at Loudon or whatever. And I mentioned this in a recent story I did about Ben Glotty and those guys. And, I talked to Christina Day, Ben's mom, about it, about the fact that you got to know him through kind of when Ben was on
Yeah.
the team, right?
Yep.
Okay. And you did that lap, and I'm like, okay, it's badass enough for you to win 2 races like you did. I don't know how you did that lap, how you held it together. I mean, it was such an emotional thing. Do you even remember doing that? Or
Yeah.
was it, you have an out of body? Okay. How did you do that? How did you manage to just hold it together to do that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Scott, he's like if other people are 1 in a million, he's 1 in I don't know, octillion. He was one of the best dudes I ever met in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I actually met his son first, Reese. Reese owns RB Graphics, and he does all of my decals on my bike. And I think I met him at the end of 2020, and I got to know his dad through him. And I remember the first time I met Scott, he let me. It was the coolest thing. He let me go out on his brand new Gixxer 600 that he just bought.
Wow.
The race, and I got to take that out for a couple sessions or a session, and had a lot of fun. But we started talking and working together over the off season of 2020, and I mean, he was one of those guys who would literally give you not only the shirt off his back, but probably his hat and his shoes too. He was amazing. Like you can't overstate how cool of a dude he was. And I mean, my dad and I were talking after it happened, and my dad said we were kind of like saying, oh well, what if they're still gonna do the race? And my dad was like, he was like, you still want to do this, right? And I was like, dude, Scott would kick my butt if I left the racetrack right now.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, I spoke to his team a little bit, and his daughter Darian, and
Yep.
she said she wanted us to do a memorial lap, so we did like the moment of silence or whatever, and I had the extreme honor of taking his bike for a final lap around Brainerd, which was pretty cool. I felt like he definitely gave me a bit of a push out there on track and helped me win those races.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Brandon Posh about that in the press conference. Obviously his girlfriend is Darian.
Yeah, Darian. Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked him, because he had a breakthrough this at Brainerd as well, and was on the podium. And he said the same thing. It's like, it's weird how when something like that happens, that spirit drives you forward. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, you won, 2 races at Brainerd after this tragedy that happened, and you doing that lap on his bike. Is that part of what it was? I mean, you were just driven to do that?
I don't even know, dude. It was I felt good in the first session, but I ended up getting pulled the next morning by almost a second. And it was funny because on my lap timer, the number that I got pulled by was 0.734, and Scott's racing number was 0.34. I ended up winning race 1, I think, race 2 by 13.4 seconds. So it was kind of like, and Brandon kept having like, we kept noticing like weird things on lap timers. It was like has 3.4 in it, which was kind of a funny little coincidence. But I definitely feel like I'm not a super religious person, but I definitely feel like there was something there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of something there, I'm going to get a little I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a little
Just get it.
Yeah. I think this. You know about the Blue Jay, right?
Yep, I do.
Okay. So for the fans that may not have been there or didn't know, there was a Blue Jay that hung around that paddock, and it was in tech. It was perched on Jen Bauer's laptop. It was in various people's paddock areas. People were feeding it. It was literally on people's hands. It was all around the paddock. And did that occur to you, Rocco, that like, what is going on? I mean,
Well, I definitely saw that Blue Jay in a lot of spots, and
Yeah.
it spent the most time over. I saw it a lot over at Innovative, so that was definitely something. And I don't know. Don't got much else to say on that. That was definitely something, and it was. I mean, it was a tough weekend, but I mean, yeah, it was gnarly. I mean, in race 1, Darian actually she came into our hot pit and was just chilling there before the race, and it was funny. Like, I can't remember what she posted, but she posted something, and it ended up happening in the race, and I was just like, and she was willing to join me up on the podium and collect our team trophy, which was a huge honor
That's
for me
cool.
and for our team.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a couple weeks off before we go to Pittsburgh. You said
Yep.
Pittsburgh's a good track for you.
Yeah, I love that place.
Are you glad to have a couple weeks, or would you rather go
No,
right
I want to be on the racetrack.
That's what I thought. I thought that.
No, when I'm at the house, all I have to do is run and fast. Screw this.
Well, gosh, Paul and I mean, I'll tell you, those race weekends take a lot out of Paul and I. We need a
Not
little bit
me.
of time to adjust,
Not me. No, I have fun. I've been
Yeah.
fasting since like Tuesday morning. Actually, last time I ate was Monday night.
That's insane.
I'm very, very hungry right now.
I bet you
At the
are.
racetrack, I'm not hungry.
Well, good. So you need to occupy your time doing other things.
Yeah, right.
Well, listen, we're thrilled for you. I mean, we knew last year when you were working through things, it was just a matter of time. And, Supersport is a steep curve, and, but now you're on your way with that whole thing. You've got some things figured out, and, your little team that could is just doing some incredible things with that 600. So, we wish you well the rest of the season. I mean, we got 3 rounds left to go and six races. And like Paul said, may not catch Heron, but you can notch some more wins and get closer and see how it goes, by the end of the year. So
Yes, sir.
we wish you well on that. And
Thank you.
I want to say, hey, so Rocco, since you get around and talk to everybody, I'm going to give a little bit of spiel about the corner workers, and I want to get your opinion. When you're out there on the track and after you win, you give the thumbs up to the corner workers, right? They mean a lot to you.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
dude. Oh, I like the corner workers. I mean, they're out there not getting paid. It's volunteer. They're out there because they love racing motorcycles.
That's right.
They love motorcycles, and they're out there just to. It's the least you can do.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
then it's awesome when they'll come by. They come by my pit after the race weekend. And I had a bunch of guys come over, just a group. They're like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "Thank you guys." I wouldn't be out here without you guys.
And that's the cool thing about it. I mean, with those, if you're a fan of racing, road racing, and a fan of MotoAmerica, that I say it all the time, that's the best seat in the house. You're out on the track, you sometimes get hands on the motorcycles, but you certainly get some camaraderie with the riders. And if you come around and talk to them, the riders, love these corner workers. So we every week talk about the importance of having corner workers. And, I just wanted to bring that up again. And we're still working on the details about the Zoom thing we're going to do. Rocco, I don't know if you know about this, but we're going to have a Zoom-based kind of a call to action. Basically, anybody and everybody that has any interest in corner working, from people that have never done it before, and we're going to send out this invitation to go attend this Zoom interview and not Zoom interview, Zoom presentation. And they'll be all on it, and they can ask questions. They can talk to our Chief Marshal, David Hall, who I know and everybody is going to get a chance to be part of this. And then once they do that, that's kind of the first step for working as a corner marshal or corner worker in our series, in Wira, anywhere else they want to do it. So, and all the riders embrace that. And I know you do too. So.
Well, I mean, you need to have competent corner workers. Like, I've been to club races and even nationals where the corner workers, like, they don't know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
But I mean, it's great that they're going to be able to be given a little bit of instructions. And I mean, we already have the best corner workers, but we'll get even better ones.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just help all the way down the line. So that's something we're going to do. But Paul, we talk about Rocco a lot. I mean, it's funny how we saw him. I mean, he kind of grew up with us a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. He was a baby. Now he's not.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But thanks so much for being on with us, Rocco. That was a good podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rocco. It was nice to have you, and look forward to, as always, to seeing you again in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of fun.
All right, boys.
Appreciate you.
Thank
See
you.
you, Pittsburgh. Bye.
All right.